Can you remove that rustle out of the wall? It's distracting. No.
Well, it's they don't trust me with an original over my shoulder there. So
You wouldn't know if it is or isn't, right? I couldn't
yeah,
tell if that was an original.
that's a reproduction we made. I think it was for the cover piece back in the 2019 auction.
Uh-huh.
It's actually about actual size of an oil, early 1890s oil of Charlie's
Hmm.
called Following the Buffalo Run.
Yeah, where is
So
that located? Do we know?
it,
The
well,
original.
it was sold from a private collection and then went to another private collection.
Okay, good enough. I get it. In other
Yeah.
words, we don't have it. You don't need to know, but it's still out there somewhere in the private world.
Well, it's here in Montana, so
All
I can
right. All right.
so but it's in private hands and
Nice.
I'm sure we'll talk about all this kind of wonderful stuff, but we
Already
at the
are.
oh, great. Are we going?
Oh yeah, Duane Braaten on right here. Dwayne, in fact, tell me your position at the Russell. You're at the CM Russell Museum.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Duane Braaten. I'm the director of art and philanthropy here at the museum, and that's kind of a tongue twister, and it was a good way to teach my kids how to spell the word philanthropy. Uh, but I get to wear lots of different hats. My primary role here at the museum is as the art director for the CM Russell Museum's major benefit live auction event. So I've had the good fortune to be the art director now for, boy, 12 years.
Oh yeah, that's a long time. So you do the whole shebang, right? The whole March and Madness kind of thing.
I sure do. And it's much more than the whirlwind there in March. It's really a full-time job that keeps my attention span throughout the whole calendar year.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
sure. I mean, you
yeah.
could you bring in all the artists too, right? All the artists coming down and you have shows for them. How many people come to that? Artists.
Well, to our events, we get 1,000 people between the whole lineup of events. We can talk about it's a weekend long series of events between two live auctions, a quick draw event, um, symposium speakers all, that you obviously know all about,
I
Mark.
know about
So,
that part, yeah.
and but beyond the Russell Museum's offerings, boy, the city of Great Falls really sits up straight and presents itself well to celebrate Charlie Russell and all things Western art. And thousands of folks flock to Great Falls right around that same weekend of Charlie Russell's March 19th birthday. They
Hmm.
flock back to town to celebrate the best Western art of past, present, and future.
There you go. I like that. That's when you believe in your job, when you definitely say that statement. And I can't disagree. He's a wonderful painter and somebody that, has a resonance to me, if nothing else, just because of his relationship with Maynard Dixon and, Dixon and Charlie Russell's admiration for each other. You have two of the greatest Western artists to live in the 20th century, and, they were friends. So.
Yeah, that's well, I don't dare talk too loudly or long about how awesome my job really is. And, it's the reason I've been able to do it as long as I have, and that I anticipate doing it for the foreseeable future. I get to work with the best contemporary Western artists, so
Yeah,
they're
that's
inspiring
great.
in so many ways, and I learn something every single day about Charlie Russell and his contemporaries, and it sure fits my need for learning to be around here. So
Yeah, and you have this long, deep, and I think we should go there because I think this is an interesting component that you have this relationship with Great Falls because you've lived there most of your life, right?
oh my gosh, I love telling this story.
Yeah.
That yeah, I was born and raised here in Great Falls. I have the distinction of I actually attended C.M. Russell Elementary School. I went to C.M. Russell High School, and now I'm at the C.M. Russell Museum.
That's so
My
funny.
my life is really kind of revolved around the man and his art and his importance in this community. Um, yeah, I wish I could tell you I grew up knowing and loving Charlie Russell and his artwork and his story. One of the cool things about the programming here at the museum is we get all the fourth graders here in Great Falls come on a field trip to the museum, and they get a walking tour of the permanent collection, all these wonderful Russell pieces. And maybe even more importantly, they get to go out to Charlie's log cabin studio that's right here
Right.
on the museum grounds. And that so Charlie's log cabin studio and he and Nancy Russell's house is again right here on this city block. So all these fourth graders come and they learn about the man, they learn about the art and how he came from St. Louis as a young boy and he wanted to be a cowboy and you get to stand right in the spot where Charlie's easel stood.
Hmm.
And then all those fourth graders have to go back and as part of their writing curriculum, they write a story about why Charlie Russell is important and why he's still relevant today, why this guy that died about 100 years ago is has something to really teach us all still today. And Mark, I got to tell you, I wrote that essay when I was back then. It was fifth graders back then.
Hmm.
I came as a fifth grader, and I wrote that essay, but darn it, I've never been able to put my hands on my fifth grade essay to see what I wrote. I'm not remembering that I won any citywide awards for that
So
for
when
my.
yeah, when they do that, so right now it's every fourth grader in the entire city of Great Falls, right? That does that.
and, and extended beyond that, it's everyone in the county too. So
Okay, so everybody in the county. Is it mandatory to do it?
it's part of the curriculum. So yes, I think they do have alternatives if
Yeah.
there's some exceptional reason not to,
Yeah.
but yes, it's every each and every year, each and every student does come to the museum, gets a taste, and we like to then hand out the passes to those students to encourage their family who maybe hasn't been here since their fifth grade
Fifth
tour.
grade. Right.
Yeah,
And
get them
and
back here.
and do they select like the best essay? Is there that kind of reward type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, beyond being part of their grade at school, there is an award, and the community and the school district makes a big deal about it with a big awards ceremony to award not only the each school winner gets an
Hmm.
award, but then also the citywide winner gets a big award, and then the countywide winner also is acknowledged.
Do you
So,
remember who won it the year you were a fifth grader?
I did see well after the fact that it was a girl, a woman now named Paige.
Right.
Congratulations, Paige.
I think what would be very interesting, and of course, they probably don't want to have this process messed with at all, but if they had at the same time people doing drawing or painting kind of competition at the same time. And I say that because I'm a writer and I appreciate the writing component. I think that's fantastic because you ignite people to be writers, but you could also ignite all these individuals to maybe take up art and be, because kids at that age, when they get an award and people go, "Oh, you're good at that, you should do it," I think it just maybe you give them an either or. You can write the essay or you could do the painting, or both or whatever. Again, I'm sure that's not an easy thing to even try to implement, but I don't know. And in fact, I would go out on a limb to say, well, first of all, what you're doing is completely unique, right? I don't think any place in America does this for an artist, but I also don't think anybody in the United States probably has a county-wide competition related to their museum and an artist to draw or to paint.
Darn it, Mark, you just reminded me of a detail that actually there is a drawing component a to that whole process where
Nice.
the students are encouraged. I don't know if that's mandatory, but they are encouraged to also, yeah, do a very small piece in whatever medium. And it started with the essay, but they have expanded it
Yeah,
to
that makes
include.
sense, right? I mean, because that's what we're celebrating is this man as an artist, right? And we want him to be celebrated. We want art and Western and Native art to be celebrated. And Great Falls is just this unique bastion. And it's not only Great Falls. I know Missouri and I mean, Montana in a whole really embraces Charlie Russell and art, but it is unique. You have a unique thing there going in Great Falls for sure.
There really is, and I'm always amazed. Like we had the exhibition opening quite recently for the auction artwork that's now hanging on the wall that'll hit the auction stage in a few weeks. I'm always amazed at all the artists that flock even to our exhibition openings because they're local. Great Falls is, and North Central Montana is still. There's an attraction to all kinds of artists, be it landscape painters,
Yeah.
non-representation, all kinds of.
Yeah, well, part of that has to do with the embracing of art in that region. I have no doubt. Writing those essays, I have no doubt, and doing that art have influence. Now look at you, right? You are somebody who has gone to Charlie Russell Elementary and high school, and now you work at the museum. You know, do you remember when you were really go, oh, this is a thing, this museum?
The I do. And it was actually when I decided that Great Falls was cool. I don't know if it's ever, as a youngster, I don't know if it's really cool to like where you're actually
No, it
from.
never is.
So, um, interesting story if you'll humor me here. So I grew up going to those schools, went over to school in Missoula on the other side of the mountains in the west. And dare I overshare, I actually went to school and received my degree in pharmacy.
Hmm.
That I mean, I was very proficient in math and science,
Sure.
and oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I have it in me to be a physician, but yeah, I think at pharmacy school that sounds like something I could do. Well, yeah, I went over there, great pharmacy school, and I graduated, and it was upon doing all of my internship requirements and things that I really admitted to myself, well, my goodness, I just am not enjoying this. It's not rewarding to me. It's, not necessarily what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Well, yeah, while I was in school, what my work study position actually over there in Missoula was working in the student art galleries as a gallery attendant. So I would guard the art galleries, and eventually I started installing student shows and things like that. And I was just really interested in doing that and working with all those artists and gleaning off their creativity and really being inspired just by their inspirations.
Hmm.
Um, so quite honestly, when I kind of decided after I graduated and made that revelation about myself, I came to the point I was trying to figure out what my next move, and lo and behold, there was an opportunity on the curatorial team here at the Russell Museum. And so I came back in and applied and got a position as the preparator, installing the shows um, and the rest, as they say. It really is inspiring in so many ways. And the museum environment, my goodness, you could do a lot worse than hanging out in a museum all day, every day.
So you're like 22 or 23 when you get that curatorial. position?
Yeah, yeah. 23, 24.
Yeah. And so when
Well,
you got that job working as a guard, it sounds like primarily at the art museum, do you know if you thought, okay, I just need a job. Oh, here's one available. Or was it, oh, this is in the art museum. There's something about that I like. I think that's maybe what I should try that job.
so over in Missoula, um, as the gallery attendant, it was the perfect job because you essentially got paid to study. It was a pretty quiet job, so um, I could study my medicinal chemistry at the
Yeah.
time when I was doing that, and and that the to answer your question, that was kind of where it really started clicking. That well, this is really a cool environment, and I don't dread coming to work here.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know,
I could see, I would even propose it might go a little deeper, though it's hard to know. I'm not you, but I had a job, similar job as an EMT working at the gym, when I was in college. And, my field there was, I was going to be a doctor, I thought. So, it fit to what I wanted to do. And I was a sports guy, sports doctor. So it all made sense. Somewhere I wonder in your mind if you didn't go, yeah, I can study and there's something else there. And you just maybe don't recognize it, but I have to believe that there was something there.
there was something there.
Yeah.
And then furthering, when I came to the museum here, the Russell Museum, that was in 97, so
Yeah.
a few years ago. Then I already had that knowledge loaded, that I knew it was going to be a cool place to work for several reasons.
Yeah, because you did it for how many years were you at that museum in Missoula?
Uh, I think three years
That's a long
during
time. That's
during
all.
my
That's your
again,
college education, basically, right?
it was a ultra part-time job that,
Yeah.
but still, I dipped my toes into that.
Yeah, you're doing all this work for chemistry and everything for pharmacy. And the reality is it's all around you, absorbing you. Your right brain's getting, ignited. And after 3 years, you get this degree in pharmacy, which did you ever practice as a pharmacist at all?
Not as a practicing pharmacist. So it was those internship hours as I
Right.
was graduate. I was trying to fulfill my all those hours, and just really realized I needed to rethink here.
Yeah, well, and you're 23. That's young. That's good to figure it out. I didn't figure it out until I was my late 20s. But when you did figure it out, was it just happenstance that this job comes up, the curatorial job in Great Falls?
Yeah,
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 so it was
absolutely.
complete circle. It was meant to be, so to speak.
Yeah, literally circling on the classified ads when they'd all be listed.
And
So
so what did they do, by the way? What was their jobs?
they were both school teachers here in Great
Okay.
Falls.
Yeah.
Um, I had a just a dream childhood here in town. Everybody, um, here in Great Falls, there's I shouldn't say everybody, but had just the dream scenario. My parents had the summers off, so we
Mm.
were always doing something wonderful. They'd chase me and my baseball team around, but had a cabin up on the Dearborn River, so I got to ride dirt bikes up and around the hills and swim in the swimming holes. So yeah, just a really great um, experience growing up. And I that's probably a huge reason why I still live here. And I am so excited to share, those same experiences with my now young kids that are going out to that same cabin and
Mm.
swimming in the same swimming hole. And yeah, Great Falls, I'm finding out, is absolutely my speed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's usually what happens when you live long enough, you figure it out. And have your kids written those essays yet?
They have. So I've had three kids. I'm I'm proud of each and every one of them, but we don't have a school winner in the family. The um, and my coworkers and board members and friends here at the museum were all writing me at the time. They were all, or my kids were in fourth and fifth grade, or the fourth grade. Well, Duane, you're going to cheat. You're going to help your kids win those awards. We know
Right,
it. So,
right.
and I said, there's no way I'm going to do that, because if they don't win, then that would just be incredibly embarrassing. If if I did full on cheat with them and they still didn't win. So
Yeah, they would probably see the last name too when the judges, and they're like, we probably shouldn't let these kids win. Who does that judging? Is it the museum that does the judging?
the museum coordinates a team of retired teachers that come in, and
Nice.
really a cool process from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's just amazing. They take that so seriously, and it's so important. And, every year they're igniting more, even if it's just one child, to go into the arts is a great thing.
Yeah, yeah, it really is great, and the small pieces they do, that kids really, at that age are really interested in. Well, I should say some kids really interested in making a buffalo look like a buffalo, and a horse needs
Right.
to look like a horse, and then some of the kids are just wild, and this is what I want this to look like. And Charlie Russell can inspire me if it's ultra realism,
Yeah.
or if it's really impressionistic or
Well,
things like that.
what I think it does is I think it gives children the permission to look at an artist as a viable option as a job, right? And even maybe a curator like yourself or a philanthropist, as far as getting paintings and understanding. It allows them at a young age to go, oh, there's another world in the arts that could be maybe something that I could do, because kids are trying to figure out, we all are. What are you going to be when you're a kid? Well, I'm going to be a herpetologist. I'm going to be a fireman or whatever. I'm going to be an influencer. That's what they want now. But, you have the ability by doing this to bring that to fruition for a child. I wouldn't surprise me if there's somebody that has done this program that's one of the artists that's an artist now in your region or a writer. Do you know if there is?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's one of the artists that's in the sale, Cliff Rosberg.
Hmm.
Uh, Boy, how about this for tying all these stories together? Cliff Rosberg is a Great Falls kid too. He was on my baseball team that I mentioned earlier
Hmm.
before. He is a pharmacist here in town. I actually went to pharmacy school with Cliff, and he is a fine artist as well, professional artist that boy has been doing that double duty for his career as a pharmacist and a professional artist. And so I've never asked Cliff if he has his essay, but he's had an incredible career as an artist. So,
Yeah, I think you guys should have a reunion of all the essay winners at your museum.
well, yeah, I mean, essentially, all high school reunions here in town, that would have dated back to darn it, that program is 50 years in the making, over
Yeah,
50 years. So
yeah.
anyone that grew up in Great Falls that's you know, under 60 is did one.
Seems like that would fit in perfectly for what your job is,
Yeah.
you know?
It,
A lot of those people are probably very successfill in their
yeah, yeah,
fields,
they're
I can see them wanting to give back to the museum or in a way, especially if they were celebrated for that fourth or fifth grade award.
right. Yeah. And all the auction catalogs for years were really good about sharing the winners, but I haven't seen that definitive list
Yeah.
of all the winners. So you got another project for
Yeah,
me.
sorry about going off this tangent. I just find it so fascinating. as a creative person and then as a business person to see this pool of individuals that have, an interest in Charlie Russell and art.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you touched on something else that, if I may, beyond the museum as like a really inspiring place to work, there are, and especially in the 90s and things, there were all kinds of these really wonderful opportunities that came up through like digital photography and design and all these other kinds of things that I got to do because it's a smaller staff here, so we all get to wear lots of different hats. So
Hmm.
I jumped in, and who knew I was really interested in Photoshop and actually, again, the on the forefront of digital photography when we were shooting the catalog, went from the old transparencies and converted into digital production.
Yeah, well, your
So,
whole job is creative. You have a
yeah,
creative job. It really is. I mean, from setting up the booths and how they go and acquiring the art and understanding the art, and making a catalog. I mean, that's complete creativity.
yeah, it's perfect for my short attention span. So, yeah, and it really is. I mean, it is a full year process. Although, so as the director of the auction, I manage the whole process to figure out which pieces to put up on stage.
Yeah.
I've worked with all of the consigners that are consigning their historic pieces that they like to sell through our event. We so much appreciate.
Hmm.
Um, but also, most of the work that comes through the event is a huge submission and selection process. We put out a call for submissions for artists to submit 3 pieces of art for consideration. And we do that right on the heels of our March event. So in the spring of the year, we put out a call for the next year's event and say submit 3 pieces for consideration. And then it's in October of the year, we get the difficult job of deciding which pieces make the cut.
Hmm.
Uh, we look at over 1,000 pieces submitted works for about 300 that are accepted.
Hmm.
So it's really a competitive process, and I think the quality of the work really proves that.
So you'll have in this auction that's coming up, you're going to have, well, this is a unique auction too, because you're going to have so many Russells, which we'll talk about. But how much of the auction, how many lots will be in an auction normally? 300?
Normally, out of for 2 live auction events, we have about 250.
And out of
This year,
that, yeah, and
uh,
out of that, how much are normally contemporary artists that are out of that 250 versus historic art?
yeah, it's about 200 contemporary,
Okay.
50, roughly.
And I
So
interrupted you, but you were going to tell us about this year's different because you've got this big collection, right?
yeah, so and if yeah, now is a good time to jump into that. It's so I was kind of sharing on a typical year, most of the work comes through the that submission process. And then that's coupled with all the high-end consigned historic pieces that
Right.
and am able to work with. But this year, boy, there's a reason I always pick up my phone when it rings. You just never know who's gonna be on the other end. Um, we got a call from an estate that was looking to sell a significant collection of artwork um, from the parents who had recently deceased. Um, I'm trying to keep the
The seller.
climax of the story for
Yeah.
yeah the drama of it all, but I'll stop doing that. But we were approached by the family of Sam and Elaine Rosenthal about what we, the Sam Russell Museum, would and could do to help them sell the collection in a way of settling the estate. Um, long story short, in working with their art advisors and essentially putting together a bid of what what we thought we could do for them. Gosh, I'm just so incredibly excited for the fact that we were awarded this incredibly significant consignment of 100 pieces of historic Western art.
Mm,
It's an all or none proposition, so it wasn't something that could be cherry picked by any means.
hmm
And they said, "How can you do this? Get creative." So here we have a here we have a sale that's all filling up fast, and it's a competitive process. Um, and how are we going to do this? So this the idea was, so we kind of split the work up into three. We took the top 25 pieces will end up in our Saturday Night Live main auction event.
hmm
Uh, and that part of the collection is just jaw dropping up on up on the walls upstairs. This Rosenthal collection was a very carefully curated and thoughtful um, grouping of works that Sam and Elaine were passionate about over the decades. I think Sam started collecting in the 30s, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And Mark, it's just the collection is incredible. It's Russell after Russell after Russell. I think depending on how you count it, there's close to 20 pieces, 20 Russell pieces in that collection of 100.
Mm,
That goes from smaller um, pencil drawings that are just really highly collectible that
right,
Charlie would do for friends and
right.
maybe a study for a piece. And it goes up to and through those wonderful illustrated letters um, that he would do that are so coveted, so sought after by collectors, and getting so hard to find. There's four illustrated letters in the collection.
Mm,
The multi-page pieces that Sam and Elaine knew to collect, knew that those were something special back in the 60s and 70s. Um, and then as far as the Russell offerings, the pinnacle is a wonderful Russell watercolor, the Mandan Buffalo Hunt, um, that is just a really exceptional buffalo hunting scene that Charlie was so well known for. Um, and that just really is a special piece. Incidentally, if I may take a side road, the cool thing about that is when I first saw that piece, I was like, oh my gosh, that looks familiar. I know Charlie Russell has done a lot of buffalo hunts, but this one really sounds familiar. And as we were rewarded the consignment, and I started working with the family on the provenance and pieces while looking at the exhibition history. Well, my goodness, Sam and Elaine loaned this Mandan buffalo hunt to the Russell Museum back in '98.
mm,
And I think it was maybe the second or third exhibition I installed here at the museum when we had um, this great exhibition of all of the Lewis and Clark pieces that
mhm.
Charlie Russell had painted. That was right around the bicentennial celebration of Lewis and Clark coming through on the
hmm
Great Falls of the Missouri. So how about that for a career like, I don't want to say it's another bookend. It's coming full circle for sure, and I'm just
Yeah,
starting
for
my
sure.
next lap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I mean that's not to be dissuaded. I mean that's something, right? It was one of your first or second curatorial jobs was to hang this painting that now you'll get the option ability to go sell it and the funds will go help the Russell Museum, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely through the buyer's premiums and commissions off of the pieces from
Right.
consignments, and it is a misconception, especially if people here in the community that maybe aren't familiar with the auction world. They think we're pulling things out of the vault to sell to
Right.
make ends meet. And oh my gosh, that couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah, absolutely. All the works that we sell are either directly submitted by artists or by consigners on a
Hmm.
spot basis.
And so these pieces are now currently up so people can view them in the museum for the auction.
Yeah, that's a really important aspect of all of this event. You know, we work so hard to put together this collection, and then all the works for sale go up on the wall for about a month prior to the
Mhm.
March 20th through the 22nd sale. It's really just a rare opportunity to see a lot of these works that'll probably go to private collections and won't be on public display for the foreseeable future. But and it's for sure the only time all of these works will be hung together like
Yeah.
this.
And so if people wanted to bid on this, but let's say they can't go out to Great Falls let's say probably the 22nd is when that live auction is. Can they go online and bid or do phone call bidding and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We wish everybody could come for sure. It's still one of those events that's not to be missed. I mean, it's such a spectacle and
It is. I
uh,
went to one and I was very impressed with the whole event.
well, it's such a celebration, and it really is. You know, it serves as a homecoming, and people have really forged these friendships over the years, and
Right.
uh, it's an easy crowd to break into and immediately be right in the middle. But to answer your question, yes, of course, we need to give people an opportunity to work with us from afar, and we offer the absentee bidding and, of course, telephone bidding. And then through Live Auctioneers is the platform we use for
Mm.
our internet bidding as well. So, um,
Even
yeah, so
people can go either through your, they can go to your website and sign up and do all that and make the arrangements there.
yeah, yeah, thanks for that. So it's at cmrussell.org.
Yeah.
And you click on the one of the cool flip catalogs. You can see the actual catalog page by page and see all these wonderful pieces I've been kind of talking about. Um, and then and then you have access to how to register to vote, either absentee or a link to live auctioneers or that's what I'm doing between now and showtime is working with those folks and helping them. So
Yeah, I
uh,
bet. I mean, now's, yeah, it's kind of crunch time. So you'll have this year, will you have more than 250? Will you have more like 450 of pieces in your auction?
yeah, so we're sitting at about 330. So we bumped not quite 100 more. And the way we got creative was our Friday and our Saturday night live auctions. We just increased the number in those sales by about 10%, so they're not considerably long. We're really conscious about how long those shows go. But the cool new thing we did for this year is to do an online exclusive element of uh, of 50 of the pieces from the Rosenthal collection will be sold on an online only sale. Those are installed upstairs as I speak as well. And those are more modestly sized collectible pieces that can be seen on live auctioneers. And it's I don't know how to describe them, but they're smaller pieces, but they're not. It's not a garage sale up there.
I get it.
There's
Yeah.
pieces by Russell. There's some of those small Russell drawings and Ed
Yeah.
Breen pieces. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's quality. It's just that you only have so much you can do at a live auction.
yeah,
And it's actually a more efficient way to be able to sell them for people to see online, I think, for those kind of pieces. The event
yeah.
itself, having gone to it, is an event. I mean, it is a big event. It's a party for sure. And I think people should, at least once or twice go and visit it in person. Are you guys going to have a Western Heritage Award winner this year? Do you know?
We haven't scheduled a Western Heritage Award for during this event for March of this year. So yeah, that's a program we're looking forward to, expanding
Yeah.
or continuing, moving
Yeah,
forward.
well, it's dear and near to my heart for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, is there anything else that we've missed that we should talk about?
Well, for crying out loud, I get so distracted and talking about myself way more than I'm used to. But
That's the idea
the
of this podcast.
yeah, excuse me, we talked about this the Rosenthal collection, but that's not to overlook the cover piece from this year. We have just incredibly significant Russell watercolor that is going to grace the cover of our catalog.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 1924 watercolor. So it was definitely in the prime of Charlie's career.
Yeah,
He was going to pass away in a couple of short years, and he
yeah,
was being very intentional about what
I
he
bet.
was painting.
Yeah.
And
That's the year he went and saw Dixon and got his photograph with Dorothea Lange. It was in 24, and then he dies October 24th, right, in 26. So, yeah, you're right.
yep,
That's kind of at the height of he's 60 years old. So, yeah, that sounds like a really premium piece for sure.
yeah. So, yeah, I definitely don't mean to overlook the other offerings from other
Yeah.
consigners. For sure. It just when it kind of rained and it poured this year, and I just couldn't be more excited about what's hanging on the walls right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is like your biggest fundraiser for the museum every year, right? This is how you make your budget and pay staff and all that, right?
It really is. It really is, um, it's just we call it a friend raiser as well as a fundraiser. But the those premiums and ticket prices and sponsorships and all those wonderful things, we so much appreciate, and it's so critically important for this institution. For Great Falls, Montana, a community of 50 to 60,000 people to
Right.
have a world-class museum like the Russell is just really exceptional. And we owe it a lot to the people that put this weekend in March on their calendars
Hmm.
to come celebrate. And oh gosh, it's fun to be right in the middle of it all.
Well, plus the other component is you're supporting artists, right? You have all these artists that are coming and selling and showing and getting exposure. And I think that is a big part of this, the importance of this show, that you are celebrating the artists, living artists, and, helping their career and, being a part of their lives.
Well, and that's why, I'm pretty adamant that we keep that open call component to that submission process to see what comes out of the woodwork. I love just opening those submissions each and every year. And, there's a lot from hobbyists. There's a lot coming from, people that aren't anywhere near the Western genre, but it's still really fun to see, and people that felt enough about their piece to send it in and give it a go.
Yeah, and there's
Uh,
also very established artists that are in that,
oh yes, absolutely.
very much so.
Very, very much so. That
Yeah.
are very intentional
Yes.
and knowledgeable about the audience that we're able to assemble. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's mainly professional artists. When I look at I would
yeah,
say it's almost all professional artists when I look at the body of individuals that have their painting that come up for sale there.
for sure, for sure. And I'm talking about those submissions,
Yeah,
the
right.
and the moonlighters and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send one in next year, see if I can get selected. And then when I
Well,
don't, I'll go, oh man, I didn't get selected.
well, and
You
that's
you
what
would not select me, I can assure you.
we're
Uh,
we're just proud, that those artists are fighting to get in, and they're so bummed out when they don't make it in for 3 4 years. But boy, the fifth year when they make it in, you better believe it goes to the top of their artist resume to
Absolutely.
say they made it to the Russell auction. So,
Yeah, and museum. Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
it's hard to be in exhibition, hang next to a Charlie Russell. That
Yep.
doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't hurt. All right. Well, I look forward to getting this information out. I won't be able to make it because I'm in another show on that weekend. But again, the show is March is it 20th, 21st, and 22nd?
Correct. So it's a series of events between art preview parties and quick draw events,
Yeah, all that
uh,
fun stuff.
education symposium, and then so March 20th through the 22nd.
And how's the fishing? Can you do some decent fishing in March in Montana?
There is some decent fishing in March in Montana. There's a lot of folks that extend their weekends to
Mhm.
sneak up on the Missouri. So
Yeah, such a beautiful river. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Duane. I will look forward to meeting you and talking to you in person sometime in the near future.
The thanks is all mine. Really appreciate it, Mark.
Absolutely. Have a good day. How cold is it there today, by the way?
Well, we're getting the last snowflakes out of the way before showtime here in a couple of weeks. So, but it was about 30.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's doable. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Good luck with your auction and show. Thanks.
Thanks. Appreciate it.